Hello and welcome everyone to the brand new episode of We Talk Talent series by ETHRWorld. Today we have with us Seema Padman, Senior Vice President HR, India in APAC for Epsilon. A seasoned HR leader, Seema has worked in all areas of HR in a career spanning 17 years across varied industries, and in the last 10 years, she has held regional and global HR leadership roles. She firmly believes that HR needs to act with integrity, impartiality, and independence to influence and shape organizational culture to attract, motivate, and retain great talent. Seema, we welcome you.
Thanks, Apeksha. Great to be here.
So Seema, to kickstart, as the world settles into new business rhythms and work models, where much has been talked and made around the future of work, remote working, and hybrid organization structures and all, how do we actually redefine employer brand in such a scenario to attract talent?
Thank you. It's a very relevant question, and given that a lot of the technology space, at least. The companies in the technology space are still continuing to work remotely. It's been quite a shift from how it used to be because offices, the physical space typically is a poster for your brand. And that's what's changed because you don't have some of the levers that you used to have when you were in a physical space. So the dependency on the virtual world in terms of making sure your brand is seen and noticed is significantly increased. And it was always there. The use of the penetration of social media really had shifted quite earlier than COVID, but that accelerated the change, and everybody had to create a social media presence, making sure that they were seen in the virtual world as well. And so we've always been present in the virtual world, but everything had kind of had to change. So how do you engage with candidates when you never get to see them? How do you make sure that you're, reaching out to the right set of candidates? And this is through technology. This is through making sure we look at our virtual candidate experience, how it is, and also by ensuring that we are really putting ourselves out there. We always had a focus on our EVP and making sure those messages were coming out clearly and reinforcing those messages. Also leveraging our current employees, I think that's been a big focus because reaching out through their networks. So we've revamped our entire referral program to make sure that we are targeting our networks much more because that's yielded a lot of results as well. So there's been over-reliance of that, but at the same time, we try and see how we can make sure candidates who access us or who reach out to us have a good understanding of the organization. So we stay connected with them, and especially people who are through the offer process. We make sure we are sending them information about Epsilon on an ongoing basis. We stay in touch with them. We make sure that they get to know and hear about Epsilon and what we do. And also making sure that our social media presence was really strong on all of the platforms were some of the things that we did. And, yeah.
Great to hear that, Seema. So Seema, with work structures, there's also been a significant shift in talent demand. So if you want to talk about recruitment, which is one of the focus areas for HR as such, and particularly at this point, what kind of skills, you are looking for while hiring across functional areas in your organization?
Yeah, so there's a variety of skills. It's quite a huge set of skills that we hire for, and technical skills that are relevant. And there's a mix of technical skills, there's functional skills. There's also for each of the roles that are relevant soft skills that we look for. So it's a huge range of skills, and most of it are considered to be hot skills according to LinkedIn. So it's real. It's a real challenge to find people with those skills. And we're looking at not just for technical skills, as I said, but how do people fit in with our values and whether they would, they are individuals who will be successful in our organization is also another consideration. So yeah, it is, all sorts of technical skills, we look for developers, we look for software engineers, we hire from product companies because we have a technology delivery arm and we have a product engineering arm as well. So the capabilities all around there.
Sure, Seema. So this brings me actually to the next question, which is on talent acquisition. So what is the biggest challenge you see in this space currently, and how do you plan to overcome that?
The talent crunch, I don't think there's any organization out there who would say that they're not experiencing the talent crunch that we see. And most companies going after the same kind of talent, that makes it really hard. And also it is an employees market, it's a candidates market out there. And so because there are multiple companies reaching out to them, they have the ability to pick and choose who they want to. So that's kind of really, making it difficult because everybody's going after the same talent. People are having multiple offers. So how do you stand out in that kind of market? Really in a virtual world, making your brand known and understood, or your culture, kind of imparting that and getting people, all of those levers are slightly weakened. And somehow, it ends up being very few levers that you have to leverage when you're trying to attract candidates. Then, of course, managing the process virtually has been quite a shift. And we've had technology in place in terms of an automatic applicant tracking system. And that helps. And that gives us a lot of data and insights about the kind of candidates we're attracting, what's their profile like. But the by far the biggest is that, most organization going after the same talent, which is creating that talent crunch has been the biggest challenge.
Yeah, that's right, Seema. So while you touched upon the topic of technology, if we can take up from there itself only. So how important have been the new age technologies such as data sciences, machine learning and all for HR in these times of, unprecedented changes and all those global crises and all, and how helpful it has been for you in your role as an HR leader at your organization?
The transformation HR through technology has been immense in the last decade or so. And in this last 2 years, it's become more pronounced. And those who've got their HR technology in place have really have an advantage because they are able to gain insights from gathering the data through various HR technologies that they deploy, right? Be it an applicant tracking system, be it a learning management system, be it a listening platform. All of these have really been valuable in these times. So we have a HR analytics function in our organization that's been set up basically to kind of gather data from the various technologies we use and gain insights and deliver insights to the business. And so that's team has been doing a lot of work to kind of bring multiple sources of data, integrate it, and really make meaning out of it so that business decisions around talent can be made. If you look at, I'll take an example. Let's say one of the biggest losses in when you're working remotely is having a sense of the pulse of the organization, right? Whereas leaders could walk the halls, have a chat with few people, organize lunches, and have conversations. And face-to-face conversations have always been more intimate, and ability to build trust and connections is really strong when you're face-to-face. And that's gone away. So it's felt like almost like, there was a whole black hole in terms of what employees were thinking and feeling. And so we didn't have something that kind of tracked, employee sentiment, but that's one we're looking to deploy. And that's a very important technology that needs to be there in an organization, a listening platform that takes ongoing feedback from employees and employee sentiments and understands that on an ongoing basis rather than in a one-off survey that's done annually. So technologies have been various technologies have been very, very critical, and the analytics team that we have stitches together the various data sources, information that we gather and delivers insights to the business.
So like you also pointed out, the employee engagement space is one of the most needed attributes currently for organization. In fact, established organizations who are looking at, long-term sustenance. So it has kind of become highly important due to the global crisis as well, and which we're still witnessing and, in parts and fractions, maybe it still would continue later on as well. So what has been your winning employee strategy, employee engagement strategy in all these times, and how has that changed? I'll not say post the pandemic and all, but keeping in mind the sudden changes which, the organization has to face, and now we are moving towards a hybrid work culture kind of a thing. So how do you look at those, evolving employee engagement practices?
We've really started switching to a virtual mode the minute we saw that it was going to be a little bit long term. With the initial days of COVID, of course, there was a view that it was short term. We'd come back to the office. And so, not a lot of effort on that front rather than keep the engine running. But over time, as you realize that, it was a crisis that was going to be prolonged, we started putting virtual events in place, engagement activities in place. This has been through partners that we engaged with, and also, or on our own. We ran a series of engagement initiatives virtually, and a host of activities that would bring people together, make it informal, make it fun, make it engaging, and try and connect and stay connected with with people. So that was 2020, and 2021 we started rethinking this quite significantly, rather than just these one-off smaller events. We actually are in the process of running this huge engagement activity the whole of Q4 in 2021, which has been pretty interesting for our employee population. There's a lot of engagement we're seeing on this. It's a series of activities, and it's designed in a very fun way and engaging way. And it's a diverse set of activities. So one of the things with all of these engagement initiatives is there are certain things that some people like, so some people like different things. So how do you keep the engagement from a wider population having a diverse set of activities? And it's included things like, a music challenge, a bingo, online bingo, a MasterChef challenge, and quizzes and puzzle solving, and all sorts of activities. And people are being put into teams, so there's an opportunity for teams to come together and work together as well, with a grand finale planned. So that definitely has been different from what it has been in the past, where we did much smaller engagement initiatives. This has been a company-wide one, and we're seeing good success with it.
Great to hear that, Seema. Incorporation of diversity in workplaces has been prioritized by top corporates in recent times, and it is one thing which has indeed become the main focus with all these remote working opportunities. Maybe in a way has widened that scope for a lot of organizations, and for the employees as well who are looking out for jobs from various remote locations and stuff. Even if you talk about women careers and all, female careers and all, it has widened a little bit of scope for what we learn through different HR leaders and through global studies as well. So how you look at this area, and if you can please throw some light on your diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda.
So the first and foremost, inclusion is one of our key values. We have 3 values: passion, accountability, and the third one is inclusion. And so it's a signal that's very important for the organization, that when you have inclusion as a value, we expect everybody to kind of embrace the value and live that in their day-to-day activities. We have, in the last 1 year, hired globally a global head of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so that person has put in place very structured initiatives to run through the whole organization, and multiple initiatives. Prior to that, we've been doing a series of things around inclusion, diversity and inclusion, and largely focused on gender diversity. We had programs that helped us really move the needle on the percentage of women we employ at Epsilon. So when we started off in 2016 or 2015, we had 22% women, but the series of initiatives that we put in place, we currently are at 35% women in the organization. And we want to kind of really push that agenda continuously. And then with we also had focus on other forms of diversity, and the first year, the Pride Circle came up with their job fair. We were attendees in it. But the second year, we were sponsors of the Pride Circle job fair. and which is called RISE. And through that process, they've been able to hire some candidates. We have a program for women who've taken a pause in their careers, and that's been running successfully for the last couple of years. And we've seen a number of women come into the organization. The program is called She Rises and has been hugely successful, bringing in great women talent who've, for various reasons, taken a pause in their career. Additionally, we have a personal goals toolkit, and that's part of the performance management process. So when you enter goals in the system, you can choose a DEI goal that resonates the most with you. It could be that as a leader, you would make sure that the panel was diverse, or it could be that you would do sensitization training for your teams, or make sure any of this. But choosing a relevant DEI goal was an important one, and it's weaved into your goals in the organization. We've done sensitization workshops to make sure people understand different forms of diversity and have the opportunity to interact with people from a diverse background. So that's an ongoing piece. More recently, we have trained about 20 people in the organization to become inclusion coaches. So these are people who really take the conversation around DEI into various parts of the organization and make sure they champion inclusion within their own teams. And they go through a fairly comprehensive training to become inclusion coaches, and they're positioned as inclusion coaches, who others can reach out to as well. We partnered with an organization called Catalyst, and we haven't rolled this out yet, but there's a program called Men Advocating Real Change. And this is also related to gender equity, because we think that being an ally is not sufficient. You want people who are advocates, and we want men to be advocates because they hold positions of influence much more than, the percentage of men holding positions of influence is higher in the organization. So we want to kind of change the the debate and the dialogue around this. So these are the various initiatives, and we've all, of course, participated in things like Grace Hopper in the past. And also some of our CSR activities are tied into inclusion initiatives as well. We've supported training in partnership with Qadar Ventures, which is around training transgenders. We've also supported a school that has a curriculum for autistic children, and the school is aimed at autistic children. So a number of initiatives, both internally and externally, is in the space of DEI has been a focus always.
Those were some great insights and some great learnings for the other larger leaders and organizations out there, Seema. Thank you for this very interesting discussion. With hopes for a better future for workforces and businesses alike, we would like to conclude this interview here, and we thank you for sharing your thoughts with us and joining us today.
Thanks, Apeksha. Thanks, everyone.